What's up, it's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. This is gonna be my November wrap up.
This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
First of all, let's acknowledge my merch. Shameless plug. I'm wearing my well anyway, here's Wonderwall and like the little ghost playing the guitar. Love her. Merch link always down below. I know, shameless plug right away. Who is she? I have my handy dandy skull with all the titles of the books in it. As always, I'm doing my wrap up as the reread, rewrite, burn tag. Been doing it for a couple years now. It's a fun time. It's definitely more fun for me to film than the regular wrap up way. Is that all I have to say? November was kind of just quality wise, crappy month. Quantity wise, not bad. I read, I think 22 books this month. I had probably the most 1 stars within a month, like ever. 1 and 2 stars. So that's depressing, but we're gonna go through them real quick. If you're new here, the reread, rewrite, burn tag is basically where I pull out 3 at a time and I say whether I'd reread, rewrite, or burn the book. But every wrap up I start with a recap first, so let's just go right on into it. Like I said, 22 books total for November. Number of pages, I didn't even finish tracking it in this journal, so there's no way I even tried to calculate it. But I think I was pretty solid with my 100 pages a day all throughout this month because I was trying to catch up with everything after the craziness of October. So I think November was pretty solid in terms of reading over 100 pages. A lot of them hit over 200 pages, some 300, so that's cool. I stopped like halfway. Sometimes I calculate it, sometimes I don't. It's just a lot of math. I don't always take the time to do it, sorry. But it's a lot of pages, I promise. Number of BIPOC authors. Okay, out of 22, 3. Awful, terrible, I know. Straight to jail. I should not be doing booktube anymore. I'm not proud of it. We're moving on. Best book of the month. There was a tie almost, but A History of Fear by Luke Demas took the cake. I read this like way late in the month, the 27th. It's definitely gonna make my top 10 of the year, I think, as well. It was surprising how much I love this book. I saw this cover when it was first revealed and I was like, I need that. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be at least 4 stars. I did not realize how much my jaw would drop all throughout this book. I'm so excited for Joey to read it because he's gonna read it next. I need more people to read this so I can scream about it with them. Okay, so it's dark academia. It's set in Edinburgh, Scotland. Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction lives there and she was reading it the same weekend that I was, so we were talking about it and it was like an unintentional buddy read moment. It was pretty cool. She lives there. She said the vibes are all accurate. It's not just for aesthetic purposes, so I appreciated that insight into it. And basically there's this murder and we know from the start that this guy was the one who murdered this other guy. So it's like The Secret History in that sense, because you know from the beginning that there's a murder. But instead of not knowing who did it, like in The Secret History, in this book, you're trying to figure out whether the guy did it or the devil made him do it. Another twisty part of it is that he has satanophobia. So he's literally scared of the devil. I don't think I explained that correctly, but let me just... Grayson Hale, the most infamous murderer in Scotland, is better known by a different name, the Devil's Advocate. The American grad student confessed to the slaughter of his classmate Liam Stewart, claiming the devil made him do it. Hale is found hanged in his prison cell. Was Hale a lunatic or had he been telling the truth all along? And then it goes back to when he was helping this other guy write the story about the devil in Scotland. So it's like this whole thing, there's a bunch of twists. I don't know, I'm like sweating trying not to spoil this for y'all because it's just so good. It's so underrated. More people should read this. I just got his sophomore novel in the mail yesterday, The Paleontologist, and I'm so excited to read that one as well. Also, I want to turn this on. Yeah, that's a vibe. So yeah, anyway, best book of the month, 5 stars, gonna make it in my top 10. Worst book. Surprisingly, it wasn't Fourth Wing, y'all. It was actually A Clockwork Orange. I listened to this on audio. If you've tried reading it, you know that it's like a whole different language. Literally, one of my patrons, Tiffany, informed me that it's like a made-up slang. And apparently in the physical book, there's like a whole glossary. And she said she had to like memorize it in order to enjoy the book and understand what's going on. I got a hang of like a few of the terms by the end, but it took a long time and it was just annoying to listen to. And the only reason why I didn't DNF is so I could scratch it off my little classic or 100 must reads scratch off poster, not even gonna lie. And also because Joey wants me to watch the movie with him because he said it's fucking weird. And I'm not surprised because the book was also fucking weird. I couldn't tell you anything that went on. I could tell you that Malanky, I think it means like a little bit or something like that, something in that nature. So that was the worst book. I gave it 1 star among many others in this month. Non-fiction of the month, since I try to read 1 every single month this year and I've been successful thus far. If I fuck it up in December, I'm gonna be really mad, but I won't. The nonfiction I read in November was The Art Thief by, I don't remember the author's name, really don't. I almost bought this book so many times, but then it was available on Libby, and I was like, it's okay, I can sacrifice having a book with a bat on my shelves. The only reason why I wanted it on my shelves really badly is because I love the cover, like the realistic bat on the cover and then that girl looking creepy, yeah. But anyway, this is about obviously an art thief, but I forgot his name already, but he wasn't like a kleptomaniac. Like they went into like his psyche and how it wasn't like a compulsive thing just for the sake of compulsivity. It was like because of his genuine love for art. Like he didn't even resell these paintings, he just liked having them in his possession and like storing them somewhere. It talked about how his deeds like affected his relationship romantically and not, I believe. I think it was a good balance between scientific facts, psychology, and personal, not anecdotes, but like personal, like his personal life. So that was a fun one. Highly recommend. Gave that one 4 stars. Glad I read it finally. The audiobook wasn't bad once you get used to it's not even monotonous. It was just, you know, how people read nonfiction. But I enjoyed listening to the audiobook for that. Kindle books. I try to read at least 1 Kindle book a month so I can continuously utilize my Kindle since I do pay for Kindle Unlimited. And sometimes I forget I even own a Kindle. I go through phases, but I try to make sure I read at least 1. And oh, Joey actually has this book. Let me go get it. Again, you've probably heard this before, but on my Patreon, Joey and I do this unmuted and unhinged sprints thing. We reread horror/extreme horror novellas and live react to it on sprints. And we have like ambiance in the background and people comment. It's a whole thing. So that's on Patreon. Patreon links down below. We're called The Lair. We're vampire themed. It's a fun time. I won't bore you with the spiel. All the perks are listed through that link. But yes, we have unmuted and unhinged sprints for all tiers available there. And this month we read Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder. And how it works is I usually buy Joey the physical copy and then I read it on KU. So I did read this on my Kindle, but this is what the cover looks like. I actually gave this 2 stars. It was, I guess, like anticlimactic, not really. There were a couple cool parts, but it wasn't like as gory and intense as we thought it was gonna be. So I gave it 2 stars and the ending was kind of flat. I don't know. It took us like an hour to read, so whatever. The cover's cool. It's basically about this vegan girl who tries to get revenge on turkey farmers or whatever, or this family who like ran a slaughterhouse for turkeys. Interesting read. And then the other Kindle book I read was Phantom Pond by Juno Black. It's another one of those Shady Hollow cozy mystery short stories. I read the Christmas one. I'm pretty much all caught up besides Twilight Falls, which came out last month. I'm just waiting on my library hold for that one. But I love the Shady Hollow series. It's super cute. It's literally Zootopia meets Gossip Girl. It's these talking animals and it sounds cheesy. It's like a small town. So it's like Gossip Girl meets Gilmore Girls meets Zootopia. Is it even Gossip Girl? Not really. I think I meant to say Gilmore Girls. But it's a small cute town and there are all these talking animals. There's a bookstore, there's a coffee shop. Our main character is Vera the fox, who's a journalist. She helps investigate these crimes that go on in Shady Hollow. Phantom Pond was alright. I gave it 4 stars. I think I liked that one better than the Christmas one. Shocker. I forgot what even happened in Phantom Pond. It was super short, so even if I did remember, I wouldn't want to tell you guys much anyway because it's like 60 pages. Buzzwordathon, I technically didn't accomplish in November, but December 2nd, yesterday, as of me filming this video, I finished Really Good Actually by Monica Heisey, and the buzzword for November was good, the word good. So, I mean, I was a couple days late, but I'm still gonna count that as an accomplishment. So there's that. I did give that book 5 stars, so I guess spoiler for my December wrap up, but really enjoyed it. It's about this 28-year-old divorcee who like navigates life after divorce, and the character growth and the humor is really good. And you'll probably hear me say this again in my December wrap up, just so you know. But yes, that's the buzzword. Did not read a book over 500 pages. Really annoying because Fourth Wing was 498, but whatever. Classics. I read 2 this month. I do have a goal of reading 5 classics this year, and I think I need to read 2 more to accomplish that goal. But I read A Clockwork Orange, which I already talked about, and then also The Picture of Dorian Gray, because this was my Patreon buddy read this month, and I gave this 3 stars. I read it in like a little over a day, and I watched the movie adaptation with Ben Barnes, and I liked the movie better. I was really liking it in the first half, and then I remember chapter 11 was the chapter that made it go downhill, because it was just this long ass chapter talking about this book. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you have read Dorian Gray already. I'm late to the game, but that was fun to read with The Lair because I probably would have pushed it off even longer if I had to read it on my own. So that's it. We're gonna go into the actual wrap-up part. I think that was the shortest recap I've ever done. All right, so we have, oh, Shit. Why isn't this in my... I forgot to put this by my wrap-up shelf thing. So I read The Telltale Heart from this collection. This is the Bookish Box Edgar Allan Poe. This is the Bookish Box edition of the Edgar Allan Poe collection. I read Telltale Heart for the first time. Oh, I guess it's another classic. That means I only need one more classic before the end of the year. Beautiful. So my Patreon readathon, we do have monthly readathons. It was a weekend readathon and the theme was classics. So I read Dorian Gray, Telltale Heart, and I finished Clockwork Orange around that time too. I don't remember. But Telltale Heart was like 6 pages long, but it's on Goodreads, so I counted it. And I gave it 3 stars. I've heard about it and it sounded better synopsis-wise than the actual story itself. Like, it was anticlimactic in my eyes. Like, I felt like it didn't get as intense as I thought it was gonna be. When I heard, you know, the thing under the floorboards and it's like this creepy story, I thought it was gonna be longer for one and just like more description of it. I guess if you went into it completely blind, it would have made more of an impact. Why did I just do that? That's not how I fucking reread, rewrite, burn. I'm so stupid. Okay, wow. I just forgot how to fucking... The Naturals and Lone Women by Victor Laval. I would burn The Telltale Heart. Since I already talked about it, we'll just get it out of the way. Fuck. I would rewrite The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I think I would prefer if it were adult, especially via audio. It sounded just very juvenile and I just didn't like how the characters read. The concept was cool. I mean, if you haven't heard about it yet, it blew up again because they remade the covers, but it was pitched to me as Criminal Minds, but make it YA. These teenagers basically were born with these superpowers that help them investigate crimes, and our main character was born like a professional serial killer profiler, so they're like solving this crime and it involves her mom one way or another. And yeah, I gave it 2 stars. I might have enjoyed it more if I read it physically because I know it has really short chapters, but I don't think I would give the rest of the series another chance because I also didn't like the Inheritance games, so I'm kind of just accepting that this is not the author for me. But I would rewrite it to make it adult. Lone Women, I would possibly reread because I feel like I missed some things because I did listen to this on audio, but I did have the physical copy from the library and I had the intention of reading it physically because it also has short chapters. I gave it 3 stars. I just feel like I, again, missed a lot and I didn't appreciate the writing as much as I would have if I read it physically. Once you got to the reveal of what's in the trunk that this main character is lugging around, then it kind of just got boring from there. But I guess the buildup was pretty good. Like the setup, the setting and the beginning setup part, like how it started. There's like the scene with her parents and something she did that led her to run away, and then she brought this trunk with her and it's on this mysterious thing. But I zoned out a lot when she was like meeting all these people along the way. I do remember there were some creepy parts, especially when it came to like staying at this one house that had some like, I don't remember if the boys were creepy or if something in the house was creepy. I would reread that, but if I really were being honest, I probably wouldn't. Next 3. Spookily Yours by Jennifer something Chapman? No, I don't know. And we have The Handyman Method by Nick Cutter and Andrew F. Sullivan, which I read for Jordaline's Patreon book club along with McKay and Gabby. And then You by Carolyn Kepnes. Hands down would reread You. I listened to this audibly because I watched the show and I heard the audiobook was good, and I'm glad I did it audibly because it did sound like Joe Goldberg and it was pretty freaking similar to the show. I mean, in my vlog I said that there were a few differences, but it was pretty much spot on for the most part. It also spoils Pitch Perfect, just so you know. If you were interested in watching that movie and don't want to be spoiled, I would reread this physically because I really did enjoy it, even if it was just audibly, and I followed along for a little bit towards the end, but absolutely love this. I do have the next 2 books thanks to my friend Kat from Booktube Beginnings. She got me them for my birthday, but I just hope they're just as good. I've heard negative things about the sequels, so we'll see, but love this. Gave it 5 stars. Spookily Yours and The Handyman Method were both 1 star. I would burn The Handyman Method because I hated it. Nothing about it entertained me. There were so many parts where I was just reading it to read it. Absolutely guaranteed if it weren't for Jordaline's book club, I totally would have DNF'd this. McKay DNF'd it, so there's that. Especially reading it right after moving and it's starting as like all these moving conversations and then also YouTube stuff, and I'm like, I want to escape from real life. I don't want to be sucked back into it with everything they talked about here. It was just this creepy handyman guy on the internet. It became sinister, I guess. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. And then Spookily Yours I would also burn, but I can't, so rewrite. I would rewrite the sex scenes for sure. Those were some of the worst fucking sex scenes I've ever read. Like Hand in Hand to Fourth Wing. If you haven't watched my Fourth Wing spoiler-filled reading vlog, the way those sex scenes were, Spookily Yours scenes were just as bad. Yeah, rewrite the sex scenes and like a lot of the cringy dialogue, especially coming from the cat demon guy. It was just so much cringe, but I guess I did like it more than the handyman method because one, it was shorter, and two, the cute fall small town vibes were still there. It's just the characters and everything else that I just mentioned were just not it. It's a witchy KU romance that I found that was going around in September, October-ish. A lot of people were reading it. So I was like, okay, let me check it out. It's a witchy, you know, cozy good time. Yes, the cozy witchy vibes were there, but then there's this like cat demon man thing and it was downhill from there. Like I would have rather followed this main character around the small town just talking and meeting other characters, doing fall activities than what I got from that book. All right, next 3. Oh, I already sold it, but One Dark Window by Rachel Giller, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and A Clockwork Orange. Oh my fucking god. I would burn A Clockwork Orange. One Dark Window, I gave 2 stars. It's going on my most disappointing of the year. I would rewrite, I don't know how though. I guess the ending, because everyone's freaking out about this cliffhanger ending and I just like did not get it. So I would rewrite the ending, put more of the nightmare in it, get rid of the rhyming because we didn't need that. I get that it was trying to be fairy tale-esque, but I feel like the setting and the plot was fairy tale enough. It didn't need all those riddles, you know? I think that that was my main gripe about it. And then also the characters were not it. Were not good. I'll link my vlog down below, but yeah, that's all. I don't want to talk about it. I already sold it on Pango, like I said. Like it was gone within like 12 hours of when I posted it on Pango. And then Dorian Gray, I would reread one of these days. Not anytime soon, but maybe in a few years. I'll give it another shot just to see, maybe even like just skim it or read chapter 11 again to see like if I have a better appreciation of it, because it has potential to be a higher rating. I think it was also, part of it was that I was in the middle of a readathon and I was just trying to get done with it. I mean, the audiobook was good. And like I said, I liked the movie and the whole concept. I think I kept hearing about it and I wanted it to be more like the descriptions of the sinister painting and shit like that. Like I wanted it to be more, and I wanted it to lean into the whole like narcissistic thing more. I think I was expecting more of that, but again, I probably just missed a lot of it as well. So probably my bad. Next 3. We've got The Center by Aisha Manazir Siddiqui, Tokyo Ghoul Volume 3, which I got from the library, Death Valley by Melissa Broder. Okay, The Center was my other contender for best book of the month, so I would probably reread this. This is dark academia. Okay, I described it as Catherine House meets Babel, and I think that's the perfect description of it. So The Center is this like elite 10-day program place where you basically become fluent in a language within 10 days. And then, you know, you're trying to figure out how they do it and yeah, just the methodology of the center. And then you also follow this main character who's kind of quirky, who has shitty people in her life, comes across shitty men, talks about misogyny as well as language, and then friendships versus relationships. So it was really good. I gave it 5 stars. So I would reread that. I would rewrite Death Valley. I would honestly reread this, but I guess I would rewrite it as I have to because I definitely wouldn't burn it. I think there were some parts that were just a little too weird for me, for my liking. I went into it knowing it was going to be weird lit fic because this is the author who wrote The Pisces, so I was expecting it, but there were some that were just like, it felt a little too fever dreamy to the point where it kind of lost meaning to me. Basically, this woman is dealing with a sick husband as well as a sick father, and she goes to the desert by herself, and I believe she was a writer of some sort or an editor or something like that. She just talks about her hardships, and you know, there's dry humor in here, which was really fun to read. And then she like ventures off into the desert and gets lost, and there are all these things that occur with like a cactus and rocks. You're in her head the whole time and hearing her internal dialogue about like how to survive this place, but also like her life sucks. She's just trying to find herself. It's like Eat, Pray, Love, but make it in the desert and a lot less glamorous, I guess. I love Eat, Pray, Love. Anyway, I gave this 4 stars. stars. I would rewrite it to make it like more grounded in those really, really weird parts. Like I can take weird, you know, I love bunny, I love boy parts, things like that. So I can be there, but there are some moments where I was like, okay, let's come back. And then Tokyo Ghoul Volume 3, I would burn. Yeah, I can't even tell you what actually happened. It's book 3 in a manga series, and I'm kind of just not as invested in it as I thought I would be when I read Volume 1. But I mean, I'm gonna continue because it is a fun time when I'm reading it. I just like couldn't tell you what happens in each one, like isolated, if that makes sense. It's just a manga about human flesh eating ghouls. That's basically the gist. Phantom Pond, The Art Thief, and this guy. Okay, would obviously burn this. I'm not even gonna go into it. I gave it 1 star. I'll link my spoiler-filled vlog down below. Sorry if you haven't read it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, but just know, gave it 1 star. I'll be selling it on my Pango. It's the pretty edition. It's annotated though, but with quality annotation. In my humble opinion. I just never want to look at it again, but I'm gonna mention it one more time in my most disappointing of the year. No guarantees that I'll still have it to hold up in that video. Would reread The Art Thief. I mean, it was a fun story to listen to. Maybe I'll read it physically or listen to it again or read more about The Art Thief because it was fascinating. What really got me was the fact that he did it for the genuine love of art. Like the fact that he didn't resell them like for profit or anything or fame or whatever. I don't know, it blew my mind. So love that story. Phantom Pond, I would rewrite. I know this is a cop-out, but I would make it longer. There's always one, at least one, in these wrap-up videos where I would just like make it longer or shorter. I love this series. I would read it forever. I mean, I feel like the mysteries in these stories, like you would think they're kind of tired, like old, done before type things. Some of them are pretty unique. And apparently I really enjoyed Phantom Pond, but I don't remember the mystery at all. Oh wait, this was the Halloween one. I remember now. I remember. Yes, I would definitely read a full novel of this story. I totally forgot this was the Halloween one. Yes, I remember. I loved the little twist and the ending, like the resolution of it all. Golden. I loved it. It was so cute. Okay, we're almost done. Tokyo Ghoul Volume 4, A History of Fear, Unfamiliar Volume 2, which is a witchy graphic novel. Okay, would reread A History of Fear, obviously. Already talked about it. Would rewrite Unfamiliar Volume 2. I think it definitely could have been longer, and I didn't really like the plot. Like the main plot of it didn't really do it for me. I still gave it 4 stars because it's super cute. The art style is so cute. There's a little bit of a sapphic romance there, but there was like a thing about the plot that just didn't do it for me, especially compared to the first one. I love the first volume. 5 stars for sure. But it's basically this little kitchen witch who lives in like a haunted house. And in this one, there was something about like something weird happening to one of her friends who worked at a local place or something like that. I wasn't about the plot, so rewrite the plot somehow. And then Tokyo Ghoul Volume 4. I did really like this one. I gave Volume 4 4 stars. I gave Volume 3 3 stars. Volume 4, I remember there was this one character who was like super bookish and I loved him. That's what pretty much made it 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed reading about that character because he had some cute little moments where he talked about how much books mean to him and how fiction has like impacted his life. That was cute, but really like in terms of the ghoul plot itself, I wasn't moved by it. So I would burn that. The last 3. And then we have one more. The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon, which I read for Liv's Library's Patreon book club because I was a guest host for her as well. We've got Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder and The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, which was my full moon book club pick for November. I'll link the live discussion down below, but the spoiler-filled vlogs do go on Patreon only. Wow, look, 3 physical editions. All right, so I would burn this. I mean, I gave it 2 stars, whatever. I would reread The Twisted Ones because I really enjoyed the characters in this book. If I like the characters, I don't even care about the plot, if it's bad or not. The characters, especially, what's her name, Foxy, I think, made me laugh out loud so many freaking times. Again, I'll link the live discussion down below, but I gave The Twisted Ones 4 stars. I love T. Kingfisher's horror. This wasn't my favorite of T. Kingfisher's. What Moves the Dead was, but I still really enjoyed this. Obviously, give it 4 stars. And then this I would rewrite. I would take the romance out of this, honestly, and just like lean into the fantasy world because, or just pick one. No, I think I'd rather it be the romance than the fantasy. If it was like magical realism, make this into magical realism instead of like a fantasy romance situation. Basically, these 2 enemies work as an undertaker and something else. And then there's like these fantasy creatures that like bring mail, and then there are these letters between the two main characters, which was my favorite part of the story. I gave this one 3 stars, but in reality I think it's like a high 2, but I think the romance parts were pretty cringy. Like all the steamy, quote unquote, steamy scenes in this, cringy for sure, but the romance in terms of like in the letters and them getting to know each other, the characters weren't bad. It was just certain interactions between them were just uncomfy, and it's definitely way too long of a book, so definitely make it shorter. Less fantasy, more like paranormal romance, I think I would have enjoyed more. And I think Liv gave it a 3 as well, but we both convinced ourselves that it should have been lower. Oh wow, look, the last book, Avocation by S.T. Gibson. I was so happy when I got this arc. I mean, I'm still so grateful because like look at this fucking pretty ass copy. This comes out in May of next year. I don't wanna say it. It's so sad. I gave it 3 stars. I gave it 3 stars. In my head, this was automatically 5 stars. Like I interviewed her about it and everything. I mean, I enjoyed the ride and like learning about the book. And I have read these characters before from her book, Odd Spirits. It's like this cute, short, witchy novella. Oh, it's over there. I can't reach. She uses the same characters in this book, plus an ex-boyfriend, David. Honestly, David was the most relatable, but he was also kind of an asshole. And there were... I don't even want to talk about it. I'm about to edit the vlog for this. Not for it, but the one where I read this book. And I say more in there, but it like literally breaks my heart saying anything negative about S.T. Gibson's books. I'm just gonna say it's not a Dowry of Blood. I went into it knowing it's not gonna be the poetic prose and everything, but I was hoping I would at least love the characters, right? Moira will always love her. She's great. She carried this book for me. Basically, there are 3 different types of witches. Is it 3 different types? I don't know. I know Moira and Reese are 2 different types of witches. I can't remember David's power. David is Reese's ex-boyfriend, and they get all tangled up with trying to help David with something. There's like polyamory involved, but it was just like, So there's like tarot magic involved, and then other types of magic. There's a lot of banter and arguments, but also there's a lot of sweet moments in here. But altogether, it was just 3 stars. So we're gonna keep it at that. I would, I think, rewrite it. I don't wanna be mean. I feel so bad. Rewrite it. Some parts just made me feel icky. Like it didn't sit right with me that things were happening behind Moira's back when she was just trying to set boundaries, and I think I would rewrite those parts. Cause Moira, I got her back. Like she did some queen shit in this book, okay? And she didn't deserve some of the treatment she got. So that made me mad. But this is gonna be a series. I will obviously read anything S.T. Gibson writes, but this was kind of disappointing. But I love her, and I love this copy because I've never had an arc that has foiling on it before, so I love this. So thank you, Angry Robot Books and S.T. Gibson, for making sure that I had a copy of this. That is all. That is my November wrap up. Let me know if you've read any of these books and agree or disagree with me in the comments below. I would love to know your thoughts. If you made it to the end of this video, I'm looking at my journal right now and I have a frog sticker on the November books read page. So put a frog emoji in the comments down below if you made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a vampy day. Don't forget to do some self-care, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!